guys all to think about, what is it that you're trying to do right now? Now, here's the thing. Some of y'all, because this was me at a certain point too, you're asking for life to change, but you don't want to do nothing. And he won't mind me sharing this because I was talking to him. I told him that I would. And he's my cousin, so he can't beat me up. Our world is believing in lies and false prophets that may get back in. Yes, Grandma, you're trying to do Bible study right now. This is about using the things that you learn in Bible study to apply to your life so you can accomplish your kingdom mission. So, Grandma, get back on at 7. And we're going to talk about that. Tonight's Bible study is we're going to do part 2 of the cycles of idolatry. But that's not what this part is. I know it's hard because I have the same TikTok and YouTube and everything like that. But 7 o'clock on Wednesdays, we're going to talk about false prophets and idolatry and everything like that. And I appreciate you coming to the Bible studies. I did not, Grandma Montgomery. Well, thank you. I hope you mean like you love my Bible study. Anyway, Bible studies at 7. Y'all come on and we're gonna get into all of that. But this is about practical application. Why? Because it's not good enough just for you to know God. You also need to accomplish what it is you're putting, what you were put here on earth to do. Your assignment, your business, your ministry, your organization, your whatever you're doing, right? You were put here to live life and to live more abundantly. And so we've got to be able to apply. Thank you so much. We've got to be able to apply those principles to day-to-day life so that we can give everything. We can't just be one thing. All right. We got to add light and get what's out there for us in every area. And so for those of y'all who come to the Bible study, y'all should be leading in everything that you're doing because you have the information, not just to have it so you can be religious and say, I know this, but no part of your life demonstrates what it is that you know. Okay. So that's what we're doing this portion for. So I want you to come back at 7 and I want you to listen to this too, but I want you to be aware of what this session is going to be about. Thank you so much, Daddy K, for liking the live. And y'all share it with some people, everything like that, and comment, all that other stuff. So every single one of you all has something that you're supposed to do. If you're on this live right now, there's something that you're supposed to be accomplishing in this world. Me doing this live is something I enjoy doing, but the other side to it is it's an act of obedience. This is a part of my life's purpose, my life's mission. If I don't do this, right? Some days I don't feel like doing it, but if I don't do it, I can feel something in my spirit just feels grieved, right? And it's like the Lord pressing down, like, all right, girl, like you're going to have to do something for me too, okay? And it's like a burning if I don't do it. Every single one of us has something like that in our lives. It's just a matter of if you'll submit to it or not, if you'll commit to it or not, right? And the hard part is when you don't, typically you will deal with heavy levels of anxiety, heavy levels of depression, things like that, because there's something in you that knows where you're supposed to be. Or what I'm going to talk about are some of the things that gets in the way whenever we don't listen to that voice. And the first thing that gets in the way is our self-confidence. You guys, one of the things that I have my clients do is to email me summaries weekly. What's their thoughts like? How did things go? Just to keep them on track and to keep them accountable. And I really enjoy reading them because I know that writing is cathartic and it really helps expose some of the things and make sense and bring order to the things that are in our mind. But one of the things that I noticed across the board, and when I'm telling you, when I read these things, these are people of different age groups, different races, different ages, different statuses in life, different positions. Some are just now starting their careers. Some of them have been in it for a while. Some of them are business owners or whatever. What I'm noticing right now is that everyone is so hard on themselves. And it's really difficult to have the confidence to put yourself out there to do something new if you're constantly speaking harshly about yourself, if you're constantly criticizing, right? Because think about it like this. For every critical person, you have someone that criticizes themselves a lot. And you're just getting like the spillover. Even everything that you see and that you experience from another person, that's only like the tip of the iceberg. It's just whatever couldn't fit inside of them is spilling out into you. Same way you can meet someone that has a lot of joy, a lot of happiness. They're dancing around, they're singing, they're just in a good mood. And you're like, why is this person on 10? You're just experiencing the part that's just spilling over into the rest of the world, right? And so if you're seeing that part, imagine what they're like on the inside. There's sometimes I just get so hype about stuff that I'm just like, I'm wired, but it's really just excitement about something or an excitement about an idea. Or, I get excitement when I set a goal and hit the goal and I'm like, I can't believe it just happened. and so if it's like, I look like I'm bouncing off the walls on the outside, on the inside, it's like, happy rage. I don't know what that word would be, but a happy rage. Okay. Raging joy. So you're just experiencing the spillover. And so one thing that I'm noticing is if I'm seeing, people respond to me and seeing that, look, y'all are really hard on yourselves, right? And you criticize yourself a lot and things of that nature, I can only imagine what it's like and what that person feels day to day. And what I'm saying is the first thing you got to get over, because I do believe for many of you guys, this is your year. Okay. And the reason I know that this is your year, I said this last year, some of y'all listened, some of y'all didn't. This is the year of exposure. This is the year of tearing down. You guys are going to see a lot of people have things that you thought, what, this person? And they're going to be on the news and they're stepping down from the church, or they're coming down from this position, or they were going to jail, or they were a politician. Like, this is the year where a lot of people are going to be uprooted, right? This is the year where God is saying, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. But this is not significant just to point fingers at people that are doing that, right? No, you don't, I don't wish any harm on any person. But as this is happening, as people are being plucked out, there also needs to be people that are stepping in. And so you guys are going to start seeing that there's going to be a lot of availability in the marketplace that there previously weren't. You're going to see a lot of availability as far as competition, right? Because a lot of people aren't doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. They're not innovating. They're out of fear. They're dealing with mental health things. They're dealing with all of these things. They're not stepping out. They're not taking risk, and they're not doing a lot of things that they would normally do just because their confidence is down. And so what you have to do is be ready to step into those places, and to take hold of the opportunities that are available and the spaces that are being left, because so many people are just choosing not to participate at a high level. So many people are choosing, not to compete. And remember, the easiest way to beat you at something is to get you to never start in the first place. Like, if y'all were like, hey, I'm gonna fight you, my first thing is I'm going to try to intimidate you to where you don't even show up to the fight. That's the easiest way for me to win, is to get you to not show up. And so you can't have that battle, or you can't lose that battle where you don't even show up for the fight, because you automatically lose. And that's what I'm saying. And so the first thing you have to realize, right, is that there's a process to success. And if you're hard on yourself, you'll never stick with the process. You'll never stick with it. As soon as you see something not working, you'll quit. And it just comes from low self-confidence. Maybe you're criticizing yourself a lot to where you won't even get up off the couch. You won't even try. You won't even put yourself out there. You won't go live. You won't do anything, right? Because you won't stick with the process. And so thank you guys so much for liking this. Y'all go ahead, do me a favor and share this with like 4 people, right? I'll say 10 people, because I know for a fact that a lot of people need to hear this. And so I really want you guys to share that and do all of those things. Thank you on YouTube. So anyway, go ahead and share it and like the live. So the first thing is you got to stop being hard on yourself, and you got to understand the pattern of success. Okay. There's a process and pattern when it comes to achieving something. Step one is the intention and the goal. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get my little whiteboard out. I'm gonna give y'all a second to share. Okay, thank you. You are so smart. Thank you so much. Stick with it. Stay there for just a second. I'm gonna get my whiteboard out. Because even if one of you guys do this, I succeeded. And the Lord will tell me good job. If even one of y'all, even one person from this live does this, if one person from this live does this, I might get the Lord's attention. Okay? And I'm gonna give y'all a secret. You know whose attention you really want to get? You want to get God's attention. You don't need to get people's attention. But when you do the right thing and you get God's attention, everything else is just a thing. So even if one of y'all get this, I know the Lord is going to bless me in some other area. All right? But I hope and pray that you share this with some people so that we can get more people on this thing. And that's what we need. We need more people living well, doing well, okay? So the first step when it comes to the process of success, here it is. The success process. It's really simple, okay? The first one, the step one, is you set your goal and or intention. Meaning, what do you want to do? That's first step. You have your goal and your intention. What do you want to do? Okay? Here's step two. So you're saying, hey, I want to start a whatever. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you want to do landscaping, hardscaping, if you want to be a hairstylist, if you want to, I don't know, whatever it is, right? And if you guys want to put in the chat what your ideas are, okay? And sometimes it's hard for me to think about this because I work with people that do all kind of cool things. And so I'm just like, I don't care what it is. You set your intention, you set your goal. Step two, right, is you implement a strategy. Actually, I'm going to edit this. You implement a simple strategy. Like I said, even if just one of y'all do this, I'm in a good place. All right. The reason I say a simple strategy is because sometimes we'll get an idea and we come up with this complex formula. You want to have a simple strategy because you want something that you can execute immediately. The reason you want to be able to execute it immediately is because it's going to give you results easily, immediately, no matter what it is. A simple strategy, not something complex. Simple strategy could be, hey, I'm going to take this product to blah, 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 and offer it to 100 people. Offer it, right? And when you implement this simple strategy, what ends up happening, this is not a step, but this is what happens, is a simple strategy leads to feedback. Okay? Feedback. Feedback is what gives you the third step in the success strategy. And step three is when you reevaluate, right? And remix your strategy. I probably shouldn't say remix, but I'm listening to music right now, so, you know. You reevaluate and you remix your strategy based upon the feedback. This is why you implement a simple strategy, because a simple strategy will give you immediate feedback. This is where most people get stuck, because this is what tells you how to grow the thing and whether or not your idea is going to work. Because whether the idea is good is not based on what you think, it's based on what customers think. And so you want to figure out, what do customers think about this thing? Now, I'm going to go through the rest of the steps, but we're going to stop here. This is where your mental health and your mindset can get in the way. If you're insecure, if your confidence is low, if you're constantly criticizing yourself, if you're talking down about yourself, you don't think very highly of yourself, if you're dealing with rejection, the spirit of rejection, all of those things, you won't make it to past this point because you'll be offended by the feedback. You don't look at the feedback as the reason why you started it, right? Most of the time we'll set up a goal a goal and we just want to get straight to the goal. The process is goal, simple strategy, feedback, right? Then you receive feedback. Then you remix your strategy. You execute the strategy, all of these things. We're going to finish this portion. And you go through that process until you have something viable, right? And you've worked through the kinks in order for you to get to your goal. So you're doing all of that so you can get right back to the first place, because this is what you want to do. So let's say your first goal is, I don't know, whatever you want to do, right? Let's say you're like, look, I need to make, maybe you say I want to make $500,000 this year, right? Start small. You're not going to do it all in one punch. And when you see people do it all in once, usually this is like their sixth business. So they've changed strategies a million times and they've reevaluated, gotten feedback until they really figured out what people want. And you see them launch and you think, oh, they did this one thing and it blew up, when really they had years worth of experience of trying, nothing working, trying until they've gotten enough feedback to realize, hey, this is what people really want, value. And then they go out and market that. But if your mindset isn't in the right place and you're looking down on yourself, this feedback will just be seen as evidence that you're not good enough. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm really not good enough, or you're dealing with, what do they call it? Imposter syndrome. You're dealing with imposter syndrome. You haven't really started dealing with rejection, the rejection that's in your life. If you're insecure, you have low self-confidence, the feedback will frustrate you because it'll look like more evidence of that voice that's in your head. So when people say, I don't want it, you'll be like, something in you will be like, see, no one likes you. Your ideas aren't great. And the feedback will break you. Why isn't this working? Da, 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 da. And like, we've all been there. I've been there, right? I think the past year, that's what, like, God was breaking me of all of that. Until you're just like, okay, cool. Before you do this next thing that's big, we got to break down all this rejection, all this frustration, any area that's low self-confidence, all the vanity, all the lack of humility, pride. We're going to break all of that so that way you don't have a big fall for the next place that you go. So this is what I'm seeing, that people won't get engaged. And if you have that going on in your life, what'll happen is when you're in the feedback area of the process, you'll end up quitting and you'll give up, not realizing that you're just a part of, you're in the success process. This is just a step in the process. But because what's going on between your two ears, you haven't cleaned up, you won't recognize that this is just a part of the process. And it'll break your confidence to the point to where you quit, or you won't try something new. You said, thank you. You're welcome. Right? And so this is why you have to really clean up what you have going on, because when they say success and poverty is a mindset, they're not wrong. It doesn't mean that there aren't things that are happening around you that's making it harder, but really it's what's going on between your two ears that allows you to stay in those cycles, because you won't engage the thing that broke the cycle. And so, God will give you a gift, a skill, an idea, a thing like that, that's going to be the answer to your prayers. Right? And we're really expecting just some miracle to happen. But really, he gave you the idea. You just didn't run with it. I'll give you a perfect example. I believe it was Elisha, right? And it's Elisha and the widow. Was it Elisha or Elijah? Those are my two favorite prophets, by the way. And I said if I ever have twins, their names will be Elisha and Elijah. Because those are two of my favorite prophets, right? So, and I believe it was Elisha. So the widow was like, look, these people are coming. I don't have no money. All I have is this. What do you have? I got a little bit of oil. Now, here's the thing. People say, like, God saved the day. But what he told her was, look, go out, ask your neighbors for stuff. Some of y'all would be stuck there because you're not, your pride will get in the way to where you won't even ask. You won't have even gone to ask your neighbors. They don't think I'm broke. What they gonna think about me? And they don't know what's going on. What happens in this house stays in this house. Woo, 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 woo. I don't need these people all up in my business. Da, 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 da. And you would still be sitting under a tree homeless because you wouldn't even been willing to ask your neighbors. Y'all, let me tell you. I recently started this other section of my business, and one of the first things I did was reach out to my colleagues. Hey, y'all, will y'all send will y'all send this to some people that you know? First thing he said was, go out and borrow some jars. Right? She ain't have to pay for them or anything. Okay, that's a business idea right there. The first step is the free marketing. See what you can borrow before you go and invest $50,000 in some equipment. What can you borrow for now? How many of y'all are with me right now? Are you getting what I'm saying, y'all? Comment that you're getting it. So that way I know, because I can't see y'all. But you can comment that you're getting it. All right. So that's the first thing. Right? He told her, look, bring them in here. As many as you can. We're going to fill these things up with oil. Cool. He performed a miracle. But guess what? The miracle wasn't in the oil itself. He then required her to go and sell the oil. So he didn't just say, hey, you're gonna go back and all these jars are gonna be filled with coins and money. No, she still had to go out into the marketplace and sell the oil. And so when you have low self-confidence and you're thinking God didn't answer your prayers, right? Really what he gave you was a business idea that's going to be the answer to your prayers. We need more people thinking like this in our society. Y'all, I'm really nervous about the current climate of the world just because I'm worried about the mentality of the people, and I'm seeing where the mentality is going. And when the mentality gets to the point to where you feel entitled, that's when the crumble comes. Anything that you feel entitled to have, no, you're going to lose everything. And I'm going to tell you one thing that God ain't ever behind is entitlement. Oh, for real? You think? Ask Moses when he took that rock. Okay? You can't do that. We're gonna talk about the Bible study. Some of y'all have no idea because don't nobody read the Bible anymore. Y'all have no idea what I'm talking about. So we'll come back at 7. But what I'm saying is the miracle was in the ability to go out to the marketplace, right? Go out into the marketplace and sell it. Some of you guys have ideas that can break cycles of poverty, that can pay off the debt, that can do whatever it is, but you got to go out there and present it to people. But if you're dealing with low self-confidence, you're not going to go do it. This is what I'm saying. Sometimes the miracle happens here more than what it happens out here. This is where most of us need the miracle to happen, is in our minds. And that's a sad truth and a sad reality. But life is just showing me over and over again within myself, within my business, helping others and everything, that most people's miracle that they need is in their head. Because if you don't have your head right, when he gave you the oil to go sell, you'd be like, what are they going to think about me? What if they judge me? Everyone's going to know that I'm poor. You know, it doesn't look like I've got it together. They should already feel like, you know, I don't have the right kind of car. I don't have this. How am I going to drive up there with this old hoopty? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And the next thing you know, you've disengaged in the process that was going to be the answer to all of your prayers and all of your life's desires and your wants and your needs. Not realizing that the prayer was answered. The thing is that you never clean things up over here. Does that make sense? And you have to clear that up. And this is evident because I notice most people, when they go out, they either A, don't implement the strategy. Oh, that was the next step, right? I actually mixed that up. You have a simple strategy. You develop a simple strategy. The step 3 is actually you implement the strategy, right? So for the widow, her simple strategy was, you got to go sell this oil. It wasn't like come up with 5 different 12 types of marketing and business plans, whatever. Now, look, I don't have an MBA, but I do have an MBA in business in the hard knock way. Meaning I've gone out and done it for so long in my life to where I learned the hard knock way of how to recruit, how to train, how to develop. I opened my first business at 21, 22. All right. So I just got a lot of bumps on my head, you know, and saved $100,000, you know, in that way, right? So this step 3 is you execute the strategy. That's where you get the feedback, right? So this is when, hey, the simple strategy was go sell the oil, widow. You owe these people money. You trying to get a new biz. Your kids got to go to, you got to pay for camp next week. You ain't got the money. You know, you're trying to do this, that, and the third. Here's a simple strategy that you can execute that's going to do it. When you implement the simple strategy, right, you get feedback. Now, I'm going to say this. If Elisha gave her some oil, it was some good oil. But maybe she went out and sold the oil, and they're like, you know, this tastes just a little, something about it's off, okay? You execute the strategy, then you get feedback. Based on the feedback that you receive, and based upon the experiences that you have, you start reevaluating, and then you remix the strategy, okay? So you evaluate, because reevaluate, it is a word, but you evaluate and remix the strategy, okay? So then you start making changes. Well, people said they did like this product, they didn't like that product, you know, some people said it was blah, blah, blah. They don't know if it's in their budget, whatever, right? Sometimes, one thing I found, I actually was speaking to this about my cousin. He was like, you know, I had all these things and people were saying they didn't have the budget for it. Now, what I heard when he said, look, I have this thing that I know is going to help their business. It's going to help their lives. It's going to do whatever, right? And they're saying, I don't have the money for it. What they're really saying is, I don't see the value in this. I don't see the value in it. And this is what you have to remember is if they saw the value in it, they would have already had it. So that feedback let him know that he's got to make it more plain and simple so that way they can see the value. So what I recommended, and this may be for some of y'all, hey, Sonia, what you're going to do is, hey, maybe you take on a client and you don't charge them, or you charge them a nominal fee and just say, look, I'm going to do this work for you in exchange for your feedback, in exchange for a testimonial, and use you as a case study. So that way I'll have a documented version of this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, right? And then you go from there. I'm doing that right now in my business, right? Started something new. And this first round, all my legacy people, I'm going to document everything. So that way when I meet the clients that I don't know, instead of paying for marketing, what I'm going to do is just give them, hey, these are the results. This is what happened. This is what they were dealing with. Here are their testimonials, whatever. So that way they can see it. So that's feedback. So that some of the feedback is just we need to change our approach. And then some of the feedback means that we've got to make some changes to what we're offering. But all feedback is good feedback. Sometimes when you're dealing with any sort of insecurity or you have issues with rejection, right? Or anything like that, you get feedback and it offends you. Because what you don't realize is you still have that wound. And when you get the feedback, it looks like more evidence of the thing that was already wounded. And so instead of engaging, right, anxiety kicks in and tries to protect you. Like, oh no, this is going to hurt us. Just don't try it. Leave it alone. Just do what you know. Stick with the job that you hate. Don't go for the new one. Do whatever, right? Not realizing that the reason you're quitting is because someone gave you feedback that hit that wound. And so you got stunned and then you retreated. When really, in actuality, the idea was amazing. You just haven't worked it long enough. You haven't worked through the kinks. You haven't gone through the process of success long enough to allow the idea to evolve and to get the feedback and the negative reviews and the positive reviews or whatever. I was talking with a client recently and I said, you know, one of the hardest things, because I've had this happen, is when you have employees that trash you. And I've had it happen, especially in my first business. And I had a lot of employees then. I was running a sales company and someone really just trashed me. I mean, they scandalized my name, right? And the reason I'm able to give someone this feedback is because I've been through it before. And it's one of the hardest things to do because especially if you're one of those people that you go above and beyond, and I was just putting in a lot of extra time. I was making a lot of sacrifices for my employees and I was really trying. Like I was really, really trying and they just scandalized my name. What you have to learn how to do, and you have to grow up and mature enough to understand that that's what you actually want in real life. Now, that person may scandalize you and they leave and they just go find another job, right? It means nothing to them. They just get it off their chest. But what it means for you is that you actually have the feedback to grow your business. Good reviews just are for the customers that are coming in to where they can see that they trust the company. Bad reviews are for you. Bad reviews let you know what you can do differently to take your business to the next level. It gives you the data to where you're like, I don't even want to give this a footstool. Whatever it is, let me see if there's any evidence or anything about what they said that's true. Implement it. And when you implement it, you actually get the information necessary to take your business to the next level. Now, let's say you get that type of thing and you're dealing with pride. You see where this is going? Pride will tell you, they ain't nothing. Pride will make you go online and respond to the review. Now, sometimes you have to respond just for everyone else that's looking, and because sometimes there are people that are crazy. So it is a good thing to respond. And sometimes, I like to respond and just be super humble. Hey, I'm so sorry you had this experience. Blah, 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 blah. We've done this. We've done that. We've made these changes. Woo, woo, woo. Good luck in the future. Maybe you'll give us another try. Cool, right? And actually, that's more real for a customer to see. But pride will make you look at that and be like, you lying, woo, 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 woo. You didn't even do this. You showed up, stank. You blah, 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 blah. And you'll do like, y'all remember when the Keith Lee thing happened in Atlanta and the owners came on and they did a little video and they were toasting champagne and all this other stuff? That was pride. Now I want to see if they're in business still. So it had nothing to do with okay, they're back open. Right? I think it had nothing to do with the review itself, right? But the pride of that made them respond in a way that instead of looking at what happened and implementing something different, right? They got it and then they did something that actually made their brand worse. And it had nothing to do with strategy. All it was the pride that was up here and that was in here. That was it. Nothing else. And because of that, instead of taking the information and implementing and saying, hey, thank you so much for this. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me do that. It's just their feelings were hurt because so many people posted about it. It was just this huge thing, whatever. And pride got in the way. You have an option. You get the negative feedback, you apply it to your business, and it allows you to take the business to the next level. But pride will get in the way, and it'll keep you at that same place. You stay in that same place for too long, eventually you just die out, right? Because you'll lose to all the people who are taking the negative feedback and making changes. And when you make those changes, really what you're doing is you're evolving your business, and you're getting what you need. So remember that. Great feedback is for the customers. Negative feedback is for you, and that's what allows you to take your business to the next level. One of the hardest places to be in is in a place where you're getting no feedback. Do you know the number one reason why people quit jobs, industries, relationships, whatever, is because they have no awareness of where they stand. If you really hate a job that you're in, it's probably because you don't know where you're going. You have no idea how you're contributing. You have no idea of whether or not you're getting ahead. You're just like there. And no one likes to sit in a business in that gray area. So what they'll do is they'll leave and go to somewhere where they're like, okay, this is a new title. At least I know I'm moving ahead. It's awareness. One of the reasons why people come to me for coaching is because they need to be able to see where they are in their business. They get lost in like, am I doing okay? What's wrong? I don't know what's wrong. Things aren't growing, things aren't happening, and I don't know why. And it's my job to coach them to where they're aware of where their business is and they're aware of their next steps. And awareness is hard to get while you're in it. And it's mainly because when you're doing something, you're building something, you're growing a business, you're in the fish tank. Like, think of a fish tank. I don't even know if people still have fish tanks, but I think in the 90s, everybody had a fish tank at somebody's house, right? When you're doing that thing, you're in the fish tank. And it's really hard to see and understand what's happening while you're inside the fish tank. And I really appreciate you guys hanging in here with me. I appreciate that. So you're in the fish tank, and what you need is outside feedback so you can see more big picture. And you're like, oh, that's what that is. And so feedback is what brings you out of the fish tank to where you're able to see what's happening as a whole more clearly. But like I said before, if your mentality isn't right, you're dealing with pride, you're dealing with ego, maybe somebody hurt your feelings, maybe your self-confidence is low, you're already criticizing yourself, that feedback will hurt and it'll make you ball up. You'll be like this, no, okay? So you have to do the work to clean that stuff up, because what you don't want to do is, and like many people do, they stop engaging the process and they quit on it, not realizing that they're just in step 3. They're just at the part where you execute and you get feedback. They never made it to step 4 because they got the feedback and they never evaluated, right? So step 4 is, so the first step is you get a goal, you have the idea, the intention. Step 2 is you implement a simple strategy. This is the success process. And the reason I'm doing this is so you can have awareness of what the process is like, so you're not beating yourself up. Because some of y'all just beat yourselves up and you're too hard on yourselves, right? You hit the nail on the head, right? Number 3 is you execute the strategy. You receive feedback when you do so. This is why you implement a simple strategy, so that way you can get immediate feedback. All right? Because the feedback is what you're really looking for. It's not the goal itself. If you get enough feedback and you implement enough strategies, you're going to get to the goal in and of its own. But what they don't teach you is just because you start something, that typically most people don't hit their long-term goal immediately. They've got to continue to work this success process. So then after you evaluate and you remix, how many of you guys can guess what the next step is? Right? You evaluate, you remix the strategy, then you go and you execute the strategy again. Then you get more feedback. And the feedback comes in the form of results, right? You get some results, right? And then you get more, it comes in the form of complaints. And then just the things that people say, responses. That's the word I'm looking for. Responses, because not all responses are complaints. Sometimes it's just a response, right? And people will tell you what they like and what they don't like. Then guess what? You remix the strategy again, right? You remix the strategy again, and then you get some results. So then you take whatever money you have, right? And you save the money and decide what you're going to do with the money. And then you set another goal. Okay, cool. Well, last time I went through this process, I set a goal, I set a simple strategy, I executed, I received feedback, I remixed the strategy, executed again, got more feedback, and then I executed again. Okay, cool. This is what ended up happening. This is how much money I made. This is the number of new customers, new subscribers. This is how much money my team made. This is the results. Then you set a new goal. Okay, well, maybe you did that for 30 days. You say, okay, I'm going to continue for 30 days. And then what you do is you look at your results for an entire month. And then what you want to look for is trends, right? And this is why data is so important and feedback is so important. Hey, on the days that I just went directly to people, blah, 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 the people that I followed up with 3 times, those are the number 1 people that ended up turning into sales. If I just spoke with them one time, never got back to them, they never turned into sales. Or this percentage of my customers bought immediately. This percentage of my customers, they needed to think about it for a while, and I had to talk with them through it. They had to get some questions answered. They needed to understand it a little bit more. Okay, great. Say someone says, look, say you have a lot of people that say, I need to understand it more. What you want to do is gather data about what is it that everyone seems that they're a little cloudy about. Every time someone has a question, it's about this. What can I do to clear that up? So maybe what would normally take them 2 conversations to buy into now it only took 1 conversation. Now notice, at no point did I say put $10,000 into marketing, immediately go buy a building, immediately go do all of these things, because you need to make sure that you're building, before you pour a lot of money into building something, that the foundation is something you even want to build. For instance, would you go, well, some of y'all would, but for instance, you don't go and start building on land that you didn't have anyone go and inspect. You don't just go buy land and say, I'm gonna build a shopping mall here. And then come to find out, you can't even build on the land, because if you were to dig at all, there'd be a sinkhole. This is the equivalent of that. Before you go deep into something, before you start making all these huge investments, whatever, put in the sweat equity and just start the success process a few different times. Now, notice I didn't say go and sell a digital product, go and do this, to tell you exactly what to do, right? And people make a lot of money from doing that, of teaching, of selling digital products to sell to other people, because it doesn't require any innovation. Because what people want, right, is guaranteed success. But if I'm selling you guaranteed success, or I'm selling everyone guaranteed success in this one thing, then whoever bought in late aren't going to see much success, because they're the late adapters. But I'm telling you, God has given all of you guys ideas that would guarantee your success, that doesn't require for you to mimic somebody else or copy someone else's idea. You've just got to be, and I got to say this. Sometimes people won't go do it because their confidence in themselves won't allow them to go and do something different. But anything that everyone's doing typically has very low returns, because you have too many people to compete with. But that idea that you have that may be a little weird, that's probably it. Because it's probably something that everyone else either is not doing or everyone else isn't willing to do. And so if you want to make money, you either got to do something that no one else can do or no one else wants to do. And that's usually where the easy money is. Or no one else is doing. Either they can't do it, they aren't doing it. And if they aren't doing it, it's probably because they can't, with the amount of information and will that they have. Now, this is what I love is, it sucks, but it's also great. We're living in a society where there's a lot of people who just don't have the will to do things. I told you all about the Gallup thing that I pulled up. And what was scary to me was it saying that although we live in a society in a time to where so many things are very accessible. I'm going to read you exactly what they said. Is this the summary? Yeah, this is a summary. And if you guys want to, you can go on Gallup and read the summary. You don't have to read all 50 pages of the global insight. There's only a few of us that need to. And the only reason I need to is because it's what I do for a living. And it's to help coach people and get insight to where other people are thinking. And I didn't have to pay for this. I can just read it and put in some sweat equity. But one of the things that said that they're scared of is our world. This is from a Harvard professor that did all of this research and was a part of it. He said, our world is becoming unhinged. After all, we're living in the best time in human history. Meaning, we have more cures to diseases. We have more solutions to everything. We have more solutions, right? We have more access. You know, we know how to grow food. There's fewer people starving across the world, right? We can build people housing. There's running water. There's all these things to where, you know, if you were to say 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, like my grandmother just passed, she was 94. When she was born, there wasn't all these things that there is now. The fact that I can talk to you guys, and some of y'all are just in places that are not in Atlanta, it's incredible. You know, I didn't have to go out and do all this work to find you guys. You're right here. So this is an example of things that we just say, right? So we're living in the best time in human history, and human progress is an observable fact. It's observable. Like, think about even as far as like IVF, right? 50 years ago. Okay, so stay tuned. 50 years ago, you know, if you couldn't have kids, you just couldn't have them. Now they're like, look, we're gonna freeze your eggs, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and then you're gonna have twins. All right. Here we've progressed, right? So human progress is an observable fact, right? But the global deterioration of mental health is concerning. And he says, what if both are right? If humanity's mental health is rapidly declining during the golden era of progress and prosperity, it would present one of the greatest paradoxes of all times. And this is the society that we're living in. That although we're living in one of the best and most progressive societies, right? People's mental health is declining. So things are really, really good, but everyone feels terrible. Their mindset is terrible. Right? Now, I'm not saying that it's a huge paradox, because I notice that whenever we become ungrateful and that we don't recognize what's good in our lives, all we're looking at is what we don't have, instead of focusing so much on what you do. Right? So it says, if our collective mood hasn't soured to historic proportions, it's actually soured enough to impact our daily lives, right? This is particularly worrying considering that we spend most of our lives working, second only to sleeping. And so it goes into like all of these snapshots, right? 20% of the world's employees experience daily loneliness, right? Wellness in younger employees dropped in 2023. So now we're in a place to where people are coming into workplaces fresh out of college. They don't have any energy. And it's bad when older employees are saying that they have more job satisfaction than the people who are just joining the workforce, because those are the people that are supposed to sustain the workforce when my generation's too old to work. And they're coming in already in a declined place mentally and emotionally. So this is everyone's issue, but the beginning portions of it is understanding that we have to do the work to get our minds right, because everything else is out there. And it's something that we've ignored for so long, culturally, socially, that it's declined to this point. And you may think, well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does matter. If 70% of employees, right, and this is crazy, they reported that when it comes to work, 73% of employees report being disengaged, meaning they're not even focused on their work. They don't care. So that means the world and the economy just isn't going to move, because no one cares. And it affects you when you go to the grocery store and no one cares. It affects you. You know, if you go to your doctor's office and your doctor doesn't care, it affects you. If everywhere you go, the majority of people that you're around doesn't care, that means no one's getting the care that they need. And that means that the society slowly starts to disintegrate. But what I'm saying to you is, unfortunately, this is leaving a lot of room for you to go and prosper. Because when everyone else is asleep, you got to be woke. When everyone else is asleep behind the wheel, you go in there and you do your thing. And you just start working and doing while everyone else is distracted, while everyone else is dealing with their pride, while everyone else isn't being humble, when everyone else is being entitled. You're like, I'm going to be humble. I am grateful for your business, ma'am. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Thank you for exchanging time with me. Thank you for allowing me to be your hairstylist, while every other hairstylist is acting like they don't want your money and that they're too good to really do this, but they're just doing it like it's a favor to you and not like, like you're spending money with them. This is one of the best times because a simple change in attitude will make you stand out. Simple effort will make you stand out. Simple work will make you stand out, because if everyone else's mentality is off, then they're not going to engage. They're not going to be real competition. While they're being prideful, honey, you're going to be humble and you're going to go out there and get the money. But the first step is to make sure that you get over yourself. Be grateful. Stop beating yourself up. Stop criticizing. Stop thinking about everything that you don't have and why you're not qualified to do it. Stop thinking about all of these different things. Because when you do, you're joining the masses. We are now in a place where most people do not have the basic confidence. What you're seeing, what people are demonstrating as confidence is really ego, right? And insecurity. And they're out there being a hypocrite. Do you guys know what the word hypocrite actually came from? Somebody just commented something and TikTok filtered it. So just write it another way, because my lives rarely ever attract spammers. So I'm assuming it's one of you guys. You said something that you really wanted me to see, but TikTok is just, it's sensitive. I appreciate it because you can say anything you want on other platforms. So this is a great time to go out and do it, but you've got to get yourself in the headspace and you've got to be willing to engage the process. If you're having a hard time finding motivation, know that you're probably dealing with anxiety. Go talk to somebody, journal, start getting grateful. One of the number one things that I find that helps people, especially helps my clients when they're dealing with things like this, is focusing on the work that's right in front of you. Always, 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 what's up, Tanya? Always focus on the work that's right in front of you. Because if you're focusing on what's in front of you, it doesn't allow your anxiety to roam. Meaning every day you're being presented, it might have been you, but I don't know what you said. It doesn't, when they filter a comment, it doesn't say who, what, when, where. It just tells me that something was filtered. So if you want me to know, you just write it in a different way, reword it. But if you focus on what's in front of you, right? And you focus on, hey, what opportunities are being presented to me today? What challenges do I need to figure out today? Right? And just focus on the work that's in front of you. What ends up happening is that it doesn't allow your mind to roam and get so far into the future. It also allows you, and some of you guys have to make sure that you look at what's happened in the past and that you just let go of whatever happened in the past. Meaning you just start today with, what are my goals for today? I have this long-term goal. Here's a strategy that I'm going to have. Who is in front of me today? And how can I just make the most of today? And then you wake up the next day and you handle the next day's issues. And you just do that over and over and over again. And that's how you get into a place to where you're not allowing anxiety to just have your mind just running and roaming like crazy to where you end up just shutting down. Because that's what anxiety does. It steals people's motivation. Criticism does that too. When you criticize yourself a lot, anxiety, all that stuff, it steals your motivation to where you end up just not doing anything. That's why I believe engagement is so low, is because people are just going to work and just they're just stunned. It's like they've been hit with a stun gun. And they're just trying to manage that overwhelming anxiety, worry, fear, and all this other stuff to where they're not really focusing on what's in front of them and making the most out of what's in front of them. So all of you guys, we need every single one of you to follow this process. You have an idea. This is how you improve your community. How many of you guys live in communities to where if everyone took their ideas and just brought it through this process, it would clean up your community? I had a dream the other night, and I feel like this dream was prophetic. I forgot about this. It had to have been, because I didn't think about this dream until just now. Thank you, Lord. So in this dream, I was somewhere visiting a friend, and this friend had just got married, and they were living in like this duplex or just a small place. And I remember telling this person, like, hey, this is a really smart idea. You know, you guys aren't spending a lot of money. You're happy. You know, you don't have to work like crazy. You're able to save and really build for your future, whatever. Cool. Right? I leave out of this place and I get to my car and someone had done something with my car. And there are all these men standing around. I can tell they were just like, you know, just the dudes in the hood that you meet. They're out there, what I call sitting under a tree, talking, drinking, doing whatever, right? And you already know, whenever you go into a place where the men aren't out there working and providing and doing that, they just standing around, you already know that society is going to, or that neighborhood or whatever is going to decline in a little while. because the world does not do well when you have a lot of men who have a lack of purpose in their lives. So anyway, so I remember something happened, and I just remember something came over me. And thank you, Lord, for bringing this back to my memory. Something came over me, and I just started going off. And I remember, and in the dream, I was like, all of you guys have something you're supposed to do. God gave you a plan. You're supposed to be doing that plan, but instead, you out here messing with my car. And I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Da, da, da. And I just start going off. And if you were doing the businesses and going to school and doing the things that God put inside of you, you wouldn't have had time to break in my car. And I just started going off and off and off. This was in my dream. And so they started coming forward and they're like, I'm so sorry. We're going to figure this out, right? And then in my dream, I was like, spirit of rejection, I command you to come out right now in the name of Jesus. Spirit of depression, I looked to the other one. Spirit of depression, I command you to come out right now in the name of Jesus. Spirit of this, woo, 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 right? And they just all started manifesting at the same time. And you can see, and then this is in my dream, you can see these spirits lifting off of them. And I was like, and I decree that your leg be healed right now in the name of Jesus. And in my dream, I'm going through all this. I was like, okay, this is how I know the Lord gave it to me, because I forgot about it until right now. And what you could see was that it was just all of these things that were suppressing people and their ideas. And because they were being oppressed and suppressed in their minds and in their spirits, they didn't have the will to go out and do the things that God was calling them to do. And because of that, they had actually ended up turning into menaces in that society. And that was the reason why my car, and I don't even know what happened to my car. All I know is my car was parked in the dream. My car was parked in a certain place. When I came outside, it wasn't there. And then I don't know if someone had broken into it, but basically it was something that made me say, like, y'all. And then I remember saying, look, I have stuff to do. And because y'all did this, I'm not going to be able to go and do woo, 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 woo. I can't accomplish my assignment because y'all out here getting in the way, being demonized, right? Instead of doing what you got to do. So now we both in a bad position. You under the tree and I'm under the tree. And I just started going off. And so it was like a revelation to what's really happening in society. Is that it's not so much a lack of resources, it is mental and spiritual oppression. And it's not that the ideas aren't there. It's not that the business ideas aren't there. It's not that the resources aren't there, meaning everything could be lined up for you, but because of what's going on up here, you're not going to get it. Meaning, if it don't show up at your front door, it ain't happening. And guess what? It ain't showing up at your front door. So this is why I'm talking about this. Is to one, just so you'll have it, just to appeal to the mind and the part of you guys that just need to see it and understand it, to where there's a process to success. And whenever you get rejection and feedback, it is an opportunity for you to adjust your process. And building something successful just comes from engaging in this process over and over again. And the beauty is, let's say you have a schedule, you already have a job, and you have 2 days off. You can engage this process on those 2 days. You don't have to be, you don't have to quit everything you have going on. You can spend your extra time engaged in the process so you get the feedback to where you can rinse and repeat and adjust your strategy until you have something that's going to really get you to your goals. But if you're not getting this up here right, if this up here is not popping, you'll never do it. You'll quit when you get the feedback, because rejection in you, depression, anxiety in you is saying, ooh, look at them rejecting you. They said no. People are going to say no. You got the best idea. Everyone's not going to like it. It's not made for everyone. There's only a few things that are made for everyone. And you got to have a lot of money to get into that. Like water. Everybody needs water. But how many of y'all can afford to buy a water source? You know? So there are certain things that everyone needs, right? But there are certain things that are just for certain people. And the good thing is you don't need everyone to like it, but the people who are for you, you've got to engage the process enough to figure out. Thank you so much for liking. You've got to engage the process enough to figure out who those individuals are, and don't let rejection tap at your front door. Don't let low self-confidence tap at your front door. Don't criticize yourself so much and be so hard on yourself so much that you can't emotionally take any rejection. And I believe that's where most people are today. Most regular folks have great things that can break generational cycles of poverty, that can get them out of debt, that can get more money, that can get them the house that they want despite interest rates, that can get them all of these things, but the headspace is what's getting in the way. And this is something that's been confirmed from my own work. That's been confirmed, not concerned. It is concerning. For me, it's concerning, but I'm doing the work to help it, right? But it's not only concerning, but it's also been confirmed through these different polls, this Gallup 2024 workplace report. It's been confirmed through my own work of developing y'all's employees and speaking with them individually, giving them feedback, hearing their thoughts, seeing how they describe their performance as being confirmed there. Many people are just so hard on themselves. I'm like, yo, you're not performing brain surgery. Ain't nobody gonna die. You're going to make mistakes. This is part of the process. You know, it's being confirmed when I'm speaking to people who are entrepreneurs, who are managers, who are executives. Right now, everyone is they're just sad. And they're struggling with their mentality, and it's like a stun gun to them, to where they're just not doing anything and just kind of going with emotions, right? You don't have to bend to reality. You can bend reality. That's one of the things I've been saying over my life over and over again. Hey, I don't bend to reality. Reality bends to me. And when I go out here, I'm creating a new reality. I don't care what the statistics say. I don't care what they say unemployment's like. I don't care how hard they say it is to find a job. Do you know why it's so hard to find a job? It's because employers are tired. They're tired. They're exhausted from the cycle of hiring and having to fire people and just this turnover. They're just tired. They're tired of turnover, and they're making the wrong decisions where they're making it harder for the right candidate, right? But it's not that the jobs aren't there. Because think about it like this. How can the economy be booming, but it's hard to find a job? That's a social problem. That's not an economic problem. And how do I know? Because I'm speaking with these employers. And they're tired. They're exhausted. And they're the ones dealing with 70% of their workforce not being engaged. And so it's like trying to get behind a truck and push it. You get tired. And so now they're like, you got to jump through hoops if you want this. Because it's like when you quit a job, it's not just, now there are some people that just don't care. And I'm not talking about those, but there are some legitimate business owners, many of them that I know, many of them that I work with, that are good people to work for. And no, they do not run a perfect business. No, it's not for everyone. No, it's not this, but they really do care. And it's like every time people quit and all this stuff, it's like a breakup for them. Like they got broken up with. And it is tiring. I've been there where you're constantly looking to hire people, right? But it's not that the work isn't there. They just talk about how hard it is to find good people. And now I understand it, because if everyone's mentality and everyone's lonely and everyone is unhappy and is unengaged, those are the main characteristics that you want in an employee. Is you want someone that has the attitude first and the aptitude second. Now, some of them I just have to teach that you're looking for the right attitude. But if mental health is declining, do you know how hard it is to hire someone with the right attitude? If everyone's reporting being lonely, if everyone's hard on themselves, If no one knows how to deal with stress, no one knows how to do this, no one knows how to balance their life. Because if you're hard on yourself at home, it's going to spill into your work life. Next thing you're going off on people and they trying to figure out, what did I do? You didn't do anything. This is something that they have that they just can't, they're not shaking. So first, I will start off with just being grateful. Focus on what you do have in front of you. Don't focus on what you can't consume, because that's where society is now. We're able to consume so much that instead of our focus is not so much on our needs, our focus is really on our desires not being met. Especially if you're in the US. It's not that you can't eat. You probably just can't eat how much you want to. And some of us ain't supposed to be eating that much anyway. Most of us aren't supposed to be eating that much anyway. Or it's not that you can't get a car. It's just not the car you want. I have a car out there that's 20 years old that I actually enjoy driving. I gotta get some work done to it. I really enjoy driving it. I have another one, but that one I just be in there and be making all kind of noise. But I'm not worried about when people see me in that car. Not worried about it, right? God always provides, but it's a process, and you can't skip parts of the process because the process is what prepares you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Even if one person from this live decides to implement this and to do something and to get out of their own head and stop making excuses, stop tearing yourself down, I've won. And God will bless me. So y'all do it so the Lord will bless me for being obedient. And if you want to work with me, set up a schedule, a discovery session. Send me an email. Tell me about your team, what your issues are, and I'll figure out something, right? The best thing that you can do is just share it. And whenever you guys come on, share the live with people so that they can see more of what's going on. But I thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. And I hope that y'all are inspired to do something. Do something. Don't just let it inspire you. Go ahead and do it. Implement a strategy. Do it tomorrow. Start tonight. Start today. All right. Bye, y'all.